All right, I did it. 7 minutes late. I'm so sorry. I was supposed to go live at 9 o'clock Mountain. It's 9:07. I had some mild technical difficulties because I've not gone live in YouTube before, and honestly, I thought it would be a little bit easier. Not that it was hard, but I ended up having to jump through some hoops in terms of the way that my connection is established. Anyway, you don't care. What I'd like to do today is potentially some landing page optimization tips, tricks, best practices, etc. What I'd love to see is if anybody who's joined, I see I've got one viewer now. That is so exciting. Thank you so much for being here. I'd like to see if you have anything that you want to share with me, and whether or not there's questions or anything that I can answer from a landing page perspective. And if not, then if I can do hot seats or I don't know if I'm going to call it like pro tips per se. I see Sumit's here. Sumit, thanks for being here. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. If you're here, drop your name in the chat. Would love to get to know you a little bit better. And yeah, I'm living the dream, brother. How are you? Thanks for showing up. This is really cool. I like the live thing already. I've got 3 people now. Oh my goodness, we're exploding. I've gone viral, clearly. And I don't know if anybody knows this, but I actually wrote the beginner's guide for landing page, for PPC landing pages for Search Engine Journal in 2014, which was freaking forever ago. So let me drop that into the chat so you all have it, and I'll include it in the description of the video. I'm not sure if the chats make their way into YouTube Live. And it says 3 isn't bad for the first live stream. It's not. No, I feel really good about it. To be honest with you, I feel good about 1. Like, I think when you're doing things like this, it's just important to get out there and serve, because everybody wants to, and this is a lesson I've had to learn the hard way. Everybody wants to go big right out of the gate, but sometimes it's not necessarily to your benefit either. I think the fact that we've got an intimate environment here, I'm going to learn what to do, what not to do, how to make mistakes. Part of the reason that I was late is I wanted to have the opportunity to share my screen, but the software that I was using for screen sharing, for whatever reason, the compatibility with YouTube ended up being challenged, and so I just went live flat out, which now means that I'm going to be talking through most of this, which I think is less than ideal. So I'm going to figure that out before my next live. All that said, I think what I'm going to do is start diving into some landing page optimization techniques. And then if you all have questions, please feel free to drop them into the chat. If you have a landing page that you want me to review, so if you've got something you're sending paid traffic to specifically, fire it off to me. I'd love to offer you some pro tips. We'll do a live hot seat if you don't mind, putting yourself at the mercy of the public review. You'll get some free consulting out of it. One of the things that's really interesting that I think is it's counter to traditional best practices is I don't believe in squeeze pages any longer. And I have a data-driven reason for that, because I feel like squeeze pages 2-3 years ago really started to work better in a realm where users were, still kind of acclimating themselves to some of those digital marketing tactics. That said, what we have found is with the educated consumer, people have figured out squeeze pages. And as often as not, if you install something on your site like Lucky Orange or Hotjar or True Conversion, and you start to watch user sessions, what you'll see is people who land on squeeze pages, as often as not, will click on the logo, trying to get back to the root URL, or delete anything past the root and go back to the main URL. Even if you have a subdomain, it takes 3.5 pages to catalyze a conversion, and takes 2.5 clicks to catalyze a conversion. What this means is people need to be able to engage with you multiple times over time, and squeeze pages don't lend themselves to that type of practice. Now, if you've got an impulse buy, if you have something that people are just going to snap up right out of the gate, then I think a squeeze page could work for you. That's especially true if you have like a really powerful lead magnet. I just shared an awesome lead magnet in a video that should be posted soon, and it's I forget the exact amount, but it was from another PPC provider, and they provided 600,000 sites, apps, and channels that you should exclude in Google Display Network. It was amazing. It was phenomenal. That's the type of thing you could put in a squeeze page and probably still get really high conversion, because it's exceptionally high value. But if you're doing SaaS, professional services, anything that has a longer sales cycle, anything where it's not like, oh yeah, I want that right out of the gate, which by the way is most things that we're advertising in the realm of Google Ads, more often than not, because so many Google Ads marketers are playing the direct response game. Realize that a squeeze page is just going to piss people off. You want people to have the ability to traverse your digital ecosystem in a way that makes sense for them. So bring them to the page. And I'm not telling you not to use landing pages. I didn't just say that. A squeeze page, the difference between a landing page and a squeeze page is optionality. Landing pages allow you to do other things. Your menu is still accessible. Links to the rest of your site are still accessible. Social calls to actions, all the things that we used to take off of squeeze pages, I would keep those. And you want to keep them because you want people to be able to traverse your site. The second most trafficked page for the vast majority of my clients is their About Us page. And what does that tell you? It tells you that people want to know who you are. They want mission, vision, values, culture. That's how people buy now. You don't have to be the cheapest. As a matter of fact, it's probably better for you if you're not. But they want to get to know you. People buy from people. And I feel like that's a ubiquitous truth. So on your landing pages, make sure that they have the ability to kind of to self-diagnose and go where their interests take them. Dennis is asking questions about Google. Yeah, let's do that, Dennis. So, that's the other thing too, is I feel like the point of us being live here together is so y'all can lob your questions at me. I can just talk at you in any context that I want. So I can do my landing page thing in a recorded video. Happy to let this get derailed a little bit if there's value that I can provide. So please fire away, sir. I'm kind of excited. And we've got 6 viewers. That's amazing. I'm so excited. Thank you for being here, y'all. If you drop your names into chat, I'd love to get to know you a little bit better. Dennis, while I'm waiting on you to post your questions, I think one of the other things that I wanted to bring up is inside of the landing page discussion, so many clients are optimizing landing pages for what they want from a conversion perspective. And I'll give you a really good example. I can't tell you how many people that we work with that don't want phone numbers anywhere on their landing pages. They don't want phone calls. They're like, we don't have the infrastructure for it. We don't have a sales team. We don't have, an intake house, a call center, whatever. We want form fills. We want downloads. We want people to buy from us like this. And the analogy that I've heard used, that's, it's not earth shattering or anything, but it's if you ran into Target and all of a sudden they started like restricting where you could go, how you pushed your cart, what you purchased, in what order, like it would be very repelling to you. Everybody wants to purchase in a different way. Everybody engages in a different way. And I realize that certain things like, taking phone calls or fielding live chat, they're not scalable, but relationship building isn't always scalable. There are elements of it that have become scalable with digital marketing, but you want to do the things that don't necessarily scale if you want to get out ahead. So if you really want to conversion optimize your landing pages, give people the ability to engage with you the way that they want to engage. So if your customers want to call, which by the way is basically every boomer on the planet, if you're dealing with anybody who's like over the age of 40, call it 45 now, put a phone number on your site. If you're dealing with younger folks, or let's say you're dealing with 9-to-5ers, like you serve a lot of people that are probably at work when they're browsing your site, put live chat on your site. Get into their minds, play the empathy game, figure out what it is that they're going to want from you, and then provide that. Don't convert the way that you want them to convert the way that they're going to want to convert. And Dennis has some questions here. Would you organize international Google Shopping campaigns into one account? Yes, you can separate. You could separate your geographic targeting into multiple campaigns, and I would do that because you want to be able to segment budgets. But we've done this in the past. One of our clients was the largest lighting supply manufacturer on the planet, and they had a campaign virtually for every Western country, and they were all in the same account, and they were segmented. The geographic regions were segmented by campaign, and then within the campaign, we had obviously various ad groups. And the delineation there, I think, starts to dilute a little bit unless I know a little bit more about your business. And Dennis is saying I could send you my 6-figure Shopify store to review. Would highly appreciate your opinion. Yeah, fire it off. Drop it here in the chat. As long as you don't mind me saying this stuff live, then I'd love to do hot seats. I think those are the most fun. I think people get the most out of them. So yeah, I'd love to see it. Victor's saying how to beat competition in Google Shopping. That's a really good question. So here's the thing about shopping is we get a lot of leads for Google Shopping. We're world authorities in the space of smart shopping. We're the ones that ran the 3X Shopify challenge. If you're not familiar, I did a breakout session at Traffic and Conversion on e-commerce marketing, specifically with Google Ads. And I'm not trying to brag. I'm just letting you know, like, we get all the influx in inquiries because people know who we are. And what that does is it gives me a lot of data points on what's out there. One of the things I've said is it's not that I'm better at Google Ads than everybody per se. I think that's there's a mild truth there because I do think that we're a little bit more adept than your average agency. But one of the things that really sets us apart is we just pick the winning horse. you can't make every e-commerce business work. For instance, if you come to me and say, hey, I'm drop shipping cell phone cases from Alibaba, there's nothing I can do for you. There's nothing I can do for you. There's nothing you can do for you. You have zero margins. You're in a saturated industry. You have people just hemorrhaging money trying to get in front of customers. You're selling something that for you is your core product, and for other people is just an ascension model because they're doing list building. So the first thing you need to do in the realm of shopping is make sure that you have the margins to support traffic acquisition. You have to be able to pay for margins. That number, by the way, is a 300% ROAS typically. Typically, a 300% ROAS is going to give you the opportunity to, let me back up. If you can't be break even at a 300% return on ad spend, then you are going to have a very difficult time with shopping campaigns. Now, I didn't just say to you that 300% return on ad spend is going to be where you stay. We have clients that had 9,000% return on ad spend, but usually if somebody reaches a 300% return on ad spend, that's about where the big gains taper off. And now we're playing the conversion rate optimization game. And you just want to make sure that you can be profitable there so you can stay there for some time or at least break even. So the very first thing with shopping is making sure that your unique selling proposition, your value proposition is strong. If you're a Me Too company, if you're selling the same mug that everybody else is selling, or the same sunglasses, or the same smartwatch, or the same whatever, you're going to have a very difficult time. Google has commoditized the world. So everything is down to, we all know exactly what the specs are. We can see all the reviews. We can see the price. So if you don't have a reason that I can buy from you, you're going to have a really difficult time with inbound traffic. With outbound traffic, if you want to go find like really intelligent ways to push, affiliates or Facebook ads or YouTube ads or whatever, I think that there's some viability there. And you see, especially with like unique products, one of the things that I bring up often is this little grippy thingy. I have some grip problems in my hands I've found recently as I've hit the gym. And what's funny about this is I didn't know that it existed and I didn't know what it was. But the minute I saw the ad, I was like, oh, I definitely want that. So, there's an opportunity for a push where I didn't compare pricing. I didn't look at the reviews. I was just like, yeah, that's an impulse buy and I'm going to snap it up. But for inbound traffic, I think you need to focus on unique selling propositions. You have to be better. There always has to be a reason to buy from you. That's one of the things that we ask clients when they sign up from us. Why would I go through you as opposed to somebody else? And if you don't have a good answer for me, I can't market for you. I hope that's not a fence-sitting answer, Victor. The other thing that I'll say is rely very heavily on smart shopping. Google Smart Shopping is, I think, the biggest opportunity in the space of e-commerce marketing in the history of the world. It's unbelievable. So what Google Smart Shopping does is it identifies the people that are coming to your site and buying. It categorizes them by demographic and psychographic profiling factors. And then it goes out and it finds more people just like those people. So it takes a poll and turns it into a push. And then it puts you in a position where you don't necessarily have to be the cheapest as long as you're, somehow compelling to these prospects. You have to have really robust product information, great images, a lot of lifestyle images, really solid titles, solid descriptions, let people know what something is made out of. Far too often, if you're dealing with like textiles or leather or, anything where you would have questions as to like, hey, how is this constructed? Include that in your product information. The average abandoned cart rate is 70%. The average abandoned cart rate is 70%. So that means that people are putting something in their cart and then abandoning 70% of the time. And you have to ask yourself, why? What can I do to improve? So hopefully those are some good tips, Victor. Let me know if you want more. Abdi's saying 36 mil from Ottawa, Canada. Cool, brother. Thanks for being here. Been doing Amazon FBA for 4 years. Nice. Plan to focus on our new DTC brand. Awesome. Thanks for being a part of the journey. Yeah, man. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate you. So that's, I imagine if you're in DTC, you're probably going with a consumable. Am I correct in saying that? And I'll just mention in the e-commerce space, since Victor asked too, your customer acquisition, if you're able to self-liquidate on the customer acquisition and make your money later, that's where e-commerce marketing, that's where big exits come from, and 8, 9, 10 figure businesses are born. We have a client who has a very special type of shampoo, and it's for a specific niche. And the first time he earns a customer, he doesn't make much money, but those customers come back forever, like literally forever. We have another client who has a special type of industrial tape, and it's for a niche industry actually. And his return on ad spend is 40%, meaning he loses money. He puts in $1 and he gets 40 cents back, but his initial order value is under $50, and the lifetime value of a customer is, I think at last count was like $8,000. And we've only been working with him 2 or 3 years, and he only started tracking that when we started working with him. His retention is amazing. So think about that. He spends $50 to acquire a customer and they pay him $8,000. So his return on ad spend, really adjusted for LTV, is, God knows, it's an exponential number that I'm not even capable of calculating in my head. But it's because he's in a consumable. If you can sell things that people reuse, now the customer acquisition, now it's a fun game to play. If you're selling something that every time somebody uses it, they're done, I'm not telling you to get out of that business. I'm just saying that you're going to have to be a lot more creative. Building an ascension model into any business, e-commerce or otherwise, is going to be critically important. Know where to go next, because what ends up happening naturally and you see this in every single industry ever, is every industry starts selling products at reasonable margins, sometimes margins that are way too high. And then as things get easier, more competitors enter the space, more consumers become aware of, how to commoditize this product, then the margins begin to squeeze until you're basically playing with Costco. Now, there's no margins whatsoever, and it's all just a loss leader to get the customer in to buy the next thing. So constantly being on the revolving wheel of what is my ascension model, that's a really important practice. Dennis says, so you think target CPA is the best bidding strategy when you have a lot of data? Yes. So it's so funny, man. This is new. This is, I've changed my tune, so So if you watch previous videos and you hear us, scream about manual CPC with enhanced CPC enabled, Google in October, November of 2020 rolled out what we're now calling broadimation, which is a term that I'm pretty sure Santos, who works with us, he coined. But they basically said, hey, use broad match and smart bidding. And all of us were like, no, we're definitely not doing that. That's stupid. But because when Google says something, you want to test it just so you're not an idiot and you're not being, negligent. When we started to use it, it started to fly. And so target CPA isn't necessarily the only thing that you want to use, but it does seem to be, once you've reached the adequate number of conversions, which it really depends on your business. If you're selling, augers and they're massive, great big purchases, then you might only need to sell 10. But if you're selling, my little death grip thing, maybe you need to sell 50. But I think as soon as you have enough data, target CPA becomes really viable. The reason you don't want to start with target CPA is because, and here's my bumbled analogy that I've used before, and I hope you all will forgive me. I think it's pretty good, but maybe you can correct me if you don't think it makes any sense. Imagine for a minute you have a robot, and you tell the robot, go to the grocery store. Here's $10,000. Go to the grocery store, buy me all the bananas they've got. Robot goes to the grocery store, comes back with 50 bananas. You just spent $10,000 on 50 bananas. What you want to do instead is tell the robot, go to the grocery store, buy all the bananas they have, and tell me how much they cost. So then the robot goes to the grocery store, comes back and says, those bananas were 30 cents a piece or whatever. And then you can say, awesome, here's 10 grand. Go to every grocery store you can find and get me bananas close to that rate. So if you start with target CPA, basically the machine has no benchmark. Now, this works on Facebook too, by the way. We like to run traffic campaigns before we run conversion campaigns, because you provide a reasonable benchmark and from which machine learning can sit on top of. You actually have to protect yourself from machine learning and AI. I think they're phenomenal tools. I think Google's done such an amazing job at really enabling marketers to take advantage of their machine learning internally, but you can't rely on it wholesale. You actually have to kind of feed the machine, and you have to push it in the direction that you want to push it. Another example of that is Google has told everybody in their tutorials, Google says, don't split up your products into separate smart shopping campaigns. Use one smart shopping campaign. This is absolute, complete, total, epic BS. You want to split up your products by margin. So you have your high, medium, and low margin, because the smart shopping campaign is shared budgets. So let's say you have 1,000 SKUs. Google's not going to sell the thing that makes you the most money. They're going to sell the thing that's easiest to sell. Now, you still want to do that. That's why you're not going to just focus on your highest margin products, because you need to earn Google's trust, get product roll going through. You're optimizing the campaign. In a lot of ways, Google relies on something that I think you could call analogous to domain authority, to where people purchasing anything from you is just a good sign. So still sell the thing that sells a lot. But if you split off your highest margin products into a separate campaign and then have a dedicated budget for those products, you are putting yourself in a position to where if there are searches for those products, you haven't exhausted your budget right out of the gate. We have a client that sells ophthalmic equipment, and this was a really important strategy for them, because they sell $30,000 $30,000 exam lanes, but they also sell the light bulbs that go into the little readers that are $1.50. And if we let Google sell light bulbs, it would spend all the budget selling the light bulbs. We still want to get the bulbs because it's good, list building, customer acquisition, all those things. But we've carved out a budget that we're comfortable spending on that, and then we have our budget that's dedicated to exam lanes that we make sure never gets tapped out. Elijah's saying, when I had my free live evaluation with Santos yesterday, he recommended broad match with target CPA, and it's working out really well. Big shout out to Santos. Yeah, thank you for that, Elijah. So going back to the broad match thing, this is what's insane. Google said, start using broad match phrases with smart bidding. And what's funny about that is Google has tried to convince people to use broad match for the longest time. It's the default. When you're building campaigns, they don't even show you broad match modified. If you don't know broad match modified exists, you can't use it. So keyword bidding match types default to broad match, and broad match has always historically brought the most irrelevant crap traffic. And using broad match in the past has been actually a catastrophic error. Well, Google learned to learn, basically. And now, if you jump into the Google ecosystem, they have, if you're using broad match with smart bidding, and we like target CPA, although there are cases for other smart bidding strategies, as long as you have the data, Google's like, oh, I know who buys from you. I know who's working. And I apologize, y'all. I only had a half-hour schedule for this, and I'm about 2 minutes from the time. So I'll schedule more time next time. I had no idea that there would be this much engagement. I can't tell you how much I appreciate everybody. Sumit, Dennis, Victor, Abdi, Elijah, y'all, thank you for being here. If you were on the video and I didn't get to meet you, pipe up next time. That's the other thing too. Don't be shy. You can tell I'm a dork. I've got big floppy hair. I don't care. I'm going to do this every Friday, same time. Every Friday, 9 o'clock Mountain. So if you want to show up, I'm going to figure out how to fix my software so I can actually share my screen next time and not be a dope. But I hope you got some value out of this. I'd love if you're in chat, give me a rating. 1 to 10. 1 is you hate my face and my voice and you can't stand me, you'll never come back. And 10 is you want to adopt me. I'd love just your feedback. And if y'all have any feedback for me from a coaching perspective, I have an anonymous survey you can take. It's solate.com/better. I'd love to know your feedback. So thanks for being here, y'all. Sorry I had to end this abruptly. I just didn't know that we would have this much engagement. I sort of went off on a tangent. So, but hopefully I get to see y'all next Friday. Oh, I'm seeing some 10s. Ankar gave me a 10. Thanks, Ankar. Ankar was on our team. You have to say that. Abdi gave me a 10. Thank you, brother. Really appreciate you. Victor gave me a 10. That's awesome, man. Y'all are awesome. Cool. Super flattered. Really excited this went off so well. Hope to see everybody every Friday. And have a great weekend.